My best friend Alex died of a broken heart after finding out his wife Chloe had been unfaithful throughout their entire marriage with multiple women. I lost him 2 months ago. He was 33 years old, and we'd been friends since we were 6. A history spanning 27 years, you know? We met on the first day of first grade when he asked to borrow my red crayon, and after that, we were together almost every day. But my own wife took Chloe's side in all this, and now we're divorced. Alex was there when my parents divorced when I was 12. The arguments at home had been getting worse for months. My dad moved out one afternoon, and I watched him pack his car from my bedroom window. About an hour later, Alex showed up at my door with his basketball. We just went to the park and played until it got dark. He did that every day for 2 straight weeks until I started talking normally again. I was there for him when his younger brother died in a car accident when we were 17. His brother was only 14. Alex didn't go to school for 3 weeks after the funeral. I would skip my last 2 classes and go sit in his room. Sometimes we'd play video games, but most of the time, we just sat in silence. His mom would bring us sandwiches and pat me on the shoulder as she left the room. When I decided to drop out of college after my first year to pursue something else, everyone told me I was making a mistake. My mom cried, and my dad stopped talking to me for 6 months. Alex was the only person who said it was a good idea. He helped me chase my dream and even co-signed the loan to start my business when I was ready to take the next step. Alex met his wife, Chloe, who was 31 during his junior year of college. I knew she was different the first time he introduced her to me. He'd dated other girls before, but he never looked at them the way he looked at her. They got married 2 years after graduation, and I was his best man. Chloe cried during her vows, and Alex cried during his. By the end, half the people at the wedding were crying. In fact, I met my wife at that wedding. She was one of Chloe's cousins. We started dating 3 months later and got married. After 3.5 years of being together, the 4 of us became really close once my wife and I got married. We'd have dinner at each other's houses twice a month, and we went camping together every summer. We spent Thanksgiving with Alex and Chloe, and Christmas with my family. When my wife and I bought our house, Alex helped me install the kitchen cabinets. When Chloe started her business, my wife helped her set up her website and accounting system. You might be thinking, OP, it sounds like everything was going great for you guys. If that were the case, I wouldn't be writing this. I'd be enjoying my life instead. But everything changed 5 months ago. I woke up at 3 a.m. to the buzzing of my phone on the nightstand. I had 7 missed calls from Alex, all of them after midnight. I called him back immediately. He answered on the first ring and told me to come over. He didn't explain why, but his voice sounded off. If your best friend calls you in the middle of the night, it means they need you. I got dressed and drove to his house. Alex was sitting on the front steps when I pulled up, and Chloe's car wasn't in the driveway. Alex told me everything that night. Chloe had been unfaithful to him for most of their relationship. She told him she was attracted to women and had known it since high school. Her family was very religious, and she never felt like she could come out. She thought marrying Alex would fix things, but we saw how well that turned out. She had been seeing other women the entire time they were together. She'd tell Alex any lie you could imagine, like taking classes for this or that. In reality, she was going on dates, staying in hotels, or going to these women's houses, building full relationships with people Alex never even knew existed. Alex found out because one of the women showed up at their house. Apparently, Chloe had broken up with her a few days prior. The woman was upset and decided that Chloe's husband deserved to know the truth. Her girlfriends knew Chloe was married, but this one wanted to get back at her. She told Alex everything. Chloe first claimed she didn't know this woman, but then ended up confessing every last detail. Alex was devastated, but he didn't cry as he told me. He just stared at the street and spoke in that flat, emotionless voice. When he finished, I asked him what he needed. Just like I had so many other times, and he for me, we sat on those steps until the sun came up. He didn't know where his wife had gone, but he was afraid to ask. So I didn't either. After that, Chloe tried to apologize. I think she realized the mistake she'd made, that if Alex ended the marriage, her parents would find out. She sent Alex messages, called his mom, and even showed up at his job twice before his boss had to tell her to stop. She said she loved him and wanted to make it work, offering to cut all contact with women, move to another city, and go to therapy. Alex wanted nothing to do with any of it. He moved into the guest room at his parents' house and filed for divorce. I saw Alex 3 or 4 times a week after that. He lost weight, stopped shaving regularly, and would forget to eat unless someone reminded him. His mom said he wasn't sleeping. I'd take him to the gym with me. We'd lift weights and not talk about Chloe. Sometimes that seemed to help. 3 months after Chloe's confession, Alex was in a traffic accident and died. He had gone for a walk at 11 p.m., which wasn't unusual for him when he couldn't sleep at that point. The driver ran a red light at high speed with some alcohol in their blood. Alex was taken to the hospital but died on the operating table while they were treating him. Alex's mother came to my house at 2 a.m. to tell me. My wife opened the door. I heard her talking to her but couldn't make out the words. I went to the door, and there she was, practically my second mother, crying inconsolably. The funeral was a few days later, and I can say it hit me extremely hard. Alex's mom wasn't doing any better. She could barely stand. His dad was coping better, but only because he didn't want his wife to be even more affected. These people had lost 2 children. I had lost my best friend. It was a disaster. Chloe went to the funeral, but as soon as Alex's mother saw her, she was thrown out. That was the only moment I saw his mother compose herself. I think she used all the little strength she had left to get her out of there because she collapsed afterward. The divorce hadn't been finalized yet, so legally, Chloe was still his wife. But Alex's mother screamed that she would tell Chloe's parents everything. My wife and I talked about Chloe on the way home from the funeral. We both agreed that she should no longer be a part of our lives. My wife was the only one who knew Chloe's secret but didn't tell the rest of the family. She said she was going to block Chloe's number, which I thought was a good idea. We didn't talk about it again after that. It doesn't bother me that Chloe likes women, but being unfaithful throughout her entire marriage just because she was afraid to come out is unforgivable. I'm sure if she had been honest with Alex when their relationship was just starting, he would have understood. But living for years, being used, and thinking he had a wife who loved him as much as he loved her is what caused him to die with a shattered heart. 2 weeks ago, I got home early from work. I'd finished a project ahead of schedule, so there was no reason to stay there for the rest of the day. I pulled into my driveway at 3 p.m. instead of 6 p.m. My wife's car was there, and so was another car. I walked in through the front door and found my wife sitting on our sofa with Chloe. Chloe was crying, and my wife had her arm around her shoulders. They were sitting right beneath the framed picture of Alex that I had hung in our living room after the funeral. I asked my wife what Chloe was doing in our house. My wife stood up and said that Chloe had called her that morning and asked to talk. I gave her a look that said, "This isn't what we agreed upon." But she explained that Chloe was going through a difficult time and needed support. Right in front of Chloe, because I really didn't care at that point, I asked my wife why she thought Chloe deserved any support. She started to say something, but I didn't let her finish. I told her that Alex spent the last 3 months of his life completely destroyed by what Chloe did to him. She had lied every single day for 8 years, using him as a cover while she lived the life she truly wanted. So no, Chloe had no right to be sad because she had caused all of this. Chloe left after that without another word. My wife followed her outside. I could hear them talking on the porch, but I couldn't quite make out what they were saying. My wife came back 10 minutes later, very angry, saying that I had been insensitive to Chloe. To me, Chloe deserved far worse than anything I could say to her. We argued for 2 hours. Instead of enjoying my time off from work, I spent it arguing. My wife argued that Chloe was dealing with her identity and had made mistakes, but she was still a human being who deserved compassion. I countered that Chloe was a liar who had destroyed my best friend and deserved nothing from us. To my wife, I was being unfair and prejudiced. I responded that my wife was betraying Alex's memory by comforting the person who ruined his life. Then she said something that really infuriated me. That Alex would have wanted us to hate Chloe like this. I shot back that she had no idea what Alex would have wanted because he died believing the woman he loved had never truly existed. We kept arguing and the fights grew worse. My wife started staying at her sister's house a few nights a week. I began sleeping at one of my parents' homes to be at our house as little as possible. We stopped eating together, stopped talking unless we were fighting. Last week, my wife packed 2 suitcases and said she needed space because she couldn't continue like this. I asked her if she was going to stay with Chloe. She didn't answer. She just gathered her things and left. She hasn't been back. I called her twice the next day, but she didn't answer. I sent her a message asking when she would come home. She replied 3 hours later, telling me she needed time to think. I asked what there was to think about. She didn't respond. A friend of mine saw my wife's car at Chloe's apartment building 4 days ago. Another friend saw them having coffee together yesterday morning. My wife hasn't answered any of my calls since she left. I don't know when or if she'll come back. It hurts to think that a few months ago I had a best friend and a wife. Now, I have neither. I don't know what to think about my wife. I feel like if one of her friends' husbands had cheated on them, she would think it was wrong. Yet this wasn't just a cheating incident, it was years of deception. Chloe is a selfish person who only thought of herself. Instead of confronting her family, she chose to waste Alex's life. How much longer was the deception going to last? Until her parents died? Edit 1. For those saying there's something going on between my wife and Chloe, that they might be in a relationship. I think I mentioned it, but they are cousins. If it's already bad that Chloe was a lesbian, it would be much worse for the family if my wife also was, and if they were in a relationship together. Edit 2. Chloe's parents did not attend Alex's funeral. I don't know if they are aware of what's happening or not. I don't have much of a relationship with them, though it's not much better with my own in-laws. Not because I don't want to, but my wife has her differences with them. Update 1. My wife finally called. She didn't ask how I was, and she didn't apologize for ignoring my messages. She just said she wanted to talk and that I needed to listen. Then she laid out the conditions for her to come home. I had to apologize to Chloe and be sincere about it. I asked her if she was serious, and she was completely serious. To my wife, what I had said to Chloe was unforgivable and cruel, and until I fixed it, there was nothing for us to talk about. I asked her if she understood what Chloe had done to Alex. She said she understood perfectly and that it didn't give me permission to be abusive. I hung up on her. She sent me a message an hour later saying we could communicate through her sister if I needed anything. I didn't respond. That was 3 weeks ago. My wife hasn't contacted me since then. Her sister came to the house last week to pick up some of my wife's clothes and personal belongings. Since she was the only person who could tell me what was going on, I asked her some questions. Most were answered evasively, as if I were the enemy and my wife the victim of my crimes. So then, I had to ask if she knew what was really happening. My sister-in-law said something about me being mean to a poor widow. That's when I got fed up and spilled everything. I could tell she was surprised because she didn't say much. She finished gathering my wife's things and left. Alex's mom called me last week. My wife had called her a few days prior to check in and mentioned we were having problems. She wanted to be there for me because she knew how much Alex's death had affected me, and now this was happening too. During the call, my wife forgot to mention that this whole situation was about Chloe. After I told her the full story, Alex's mom said she would wait for my wife to call again to tell her a few things. We didn't talk much about Alex or Chloe beyond that. We tried to talk about other things. I went to Alex's grave yesterday. I stayed there for an hour trying to figure out what I was supposed to do. Alex would have known what to do. It would have been good to have him here right now, but Alex is dead. And I'm here while my wife is living with the woman who destroyed his life. I spoke with a lawyer. If my wife and I decided to divorce, the process would take at least 6 months in this state. It would be faster if we agreed on the division of assets instead of going to mediation. I haven't told my wife that I spoke with a lawyer, and I don't know if she has spoken with one. I'm just exploring my options, although I think the decision has already been made. It's just a matter of seeing who takes the first step. Edit. Chloe didn't end up with much of Alex's belongings after his death. He had changed his will to leave his personal assets to his parents. The house they lived in wasn't theirs, and she might have kept the joint accounts and little else, as they were still married, and these were marital assets. I'm sorry I don't have more details. Update 2. My ex-wife filed for divorce 3 months ago. Her lawyer sent the papers to my house. She filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, which is fine by me. We certainly have differences, though not the reasons she stated for our divorce. The papers said my ex-wife wanted to divide everything 50-50. She, like me, wanted the divorce to be finalized as quickly as possible. There was a section about the house, another about our savings account, and another about furniture and personal belongings. I had my lawyer review it that same day, in case there was anything I didn't like, but when he informed me everything was standard, I signed it immediately. I put the papers back in the envelope and dropped them off at her lawyer's office. I didn't even wait until the next day. I did it right after leaving my lawyer's office. We could have negotiated things, wasted time over every minuscule detail of who got what, but I just wanted to be done, and 50% was pretty fair. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. That's what happens when both parties agree that divorcing is the best course of action. We'll split the house sale half and half once we manage to sell it. Our savings and other assets have already been divided in half. She took her car and personal belongings. I kept my truck and other items. The whole process took just over 2 months from the day she filed to the day the judge signed the decree. I haven't spoken directly with my ex-wife since the day she left. We communicated entirely through our lawyers. She didn't come to the house to pick up her things. Her sister and a friend came one afternoon while I was at work and packed everything. Now I need to find a place for myself and move out so the house can be handed over to the future buyer. There isn't one yet, but I don't want to wait too long. My ex-wife is living full-time with Chloe. I know this because Chloe's landlord went to high school with me. Alex's picture is still on the wall, and it will come with me when I move. I've been seeing Alex's parents for dinner at least once a week. They are doing much better, considering the starting point was their son's funeral. They had been attending therapy since the death of their first child, so they have coping mechanisms and a support network. It's not easier because they've experienced losing a child before, but I think they are handling it well. They've been pushing me to go to therapy too, and I'm going to start now, which many of you have been asking about. I'm sorry if I haven't been able to provide updates on the gossip. When I had lost both a friend and a marriage, my priorities were elsewhere. Now, I'm in a better place. I've been able to talk with Alex's mom, and I have some news. Everyone in Chloe's family and my wife's family knows what really happened. Last time I had told Chloe's sister everything, but she must not have said anything after talking to Chloe. I know this because about a month and a half ago, while discussing these matters with Alex's mom, she told me she had completely forgotten about it and was going to call. A week later, when we all met for dinner again, she told me what happened. Chloe's parents knew nothing about what was going on. They knew Chloe and Alex were going through a marital crisis, but they hoped they would work it out. They had even suggested to Chloe that she talk to someone from the church who provides help in such situations. After Alex passed away, Chloe had told her parents not to attend his funeral, claiming that things were tense with her husband's parents. Chloe's version was that Alex's parents didn't like her because they somehow blamed her for his accident. Which in part, they did, because he wouldn't have gone for a walk at that hour when people are leaving bars, but not for the reasons she gave them. To say they were angry is an understatement, although the curious thing is that they weren't angry with her for being a lesbian. Yes, I was surprised by that too. I'll talk about that in a bit, because I also had my conversation with my in-laws. Alex's in-laws' anger had to do with her having cheated on him for years. Alex's mother's impression from the conversation was that the anger was primarily about the cheating, and it was clear that Chloe's sister hadn't said anything. That was all we knew from Chloe's parents until my in-laws called. They found out what was happening with Chloe, and also what was happening with me. This was thanks to Alex's mother, who told Chloe's parents. My ex-wife had told them that I was part of the group who hated Chloe for what happened with Alex, but without knowing all the information. These people, whom my ex-wife had always painted as villains, were basically the sweetest people you could imagine. They were offended by Chloe, by their daughter, and by the whole situation. They promised me they would talk to her, and I thought that would be it, but then they called me again. In short, they disinherited my ex-wife. I don't know what was said in that conversation, but they apologized to me and invited me to dinner. Someone must have told them I lost weight because between Alex's parents and my in-laws, I think they're trying to fatten me up. At least Alex's mom cooks everything I like, which isn't exactly low-calorie. I probably also accepted the invitation from my in-laws, or ex-in-laws really. It feels so strange that I'm getting along well with them now that my marriage is over. That says a lot. Lastly, and what makes me hate Chloe even more, is what she told Alex. She said her parents would hate it if she came out. However, that's not the impression Chloe's parents gave, nor is it the impression my in-laws gave me. Chloe might have thought that, since they are religious and that's what one might expect, but it doesn't make it any less wrong, because she shattered Alex's life just because she thought it would be bad. The other possibility is that she lied to Alex, which I believe is the most likely. She did it for years, so why not now? That's, in short, what has happened. Edit. Yes, Chloe has also been disinherited, though I'm not using the term in reference to money, but to the fact that her parents don't want to speak to her anymore. They probably won't give her money either, though I don't know if her parents have a lot or a little, to be honest. Update 3. I saw my ex-wife last week. I was getting gas at a station by the highway, and she pulled up to the pump across from mine. She didn't see me at first. She got out of her car and started filling her tank. Then she looked up, and our eyes met. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, and she was wearing clothes I'd never seen her in. She looked at me for a few seconds. Then she looked away and focused on the pump. I finished filling my tank and went inside to pay. When I came out, her car was gone. I've thought about that moment every day since it happened. I know that with this description, people will further fuel the theory that she has become lesbian, or always was, and that she is with Chloe. I'm just providing the information. You all can handle the rest. Also, I have more information about her. I've been to dinner with my in-laws, whom I refuse to call ex-in-laws. It's been good, but we haven't touched much on the subject of their daughter or Chloe. I wish I could have had a relationship like this before, when I was still married. Alex's mom invited me to Thanksgiving dinner last month. I told her I would go, but only if they let me bring something. They never let me bring anything, not even a bottle of wine. She agreed because I was firm about not going otherwise, but then I panicked because I didn't know how to cook anything for Thanksgiving. I ended up buying a pecan pie from a gas station. It had a funny taste. Nobody ate it except me, but I was happy with my pie. Mental note for next year: learn to bake, even though it will probably taste even worse than the one I brought this year. There were a lot of people there, Alex's relatives, so I felt right at home. I was invited for Christmas, but I also need to spend some holidays with my parents. At least I helped carry the mashed potatoes to the table. That has to make up for the pie that was probably spoiled. It didn't upset my stomach, but my stomach is used to my junk food days with Alex. I've moved and put a couple of pictures of me with Alex where I can see them. At first, it hurt to remember him, but now I'm starting to associate those photos with good memories I have. My therapist has helped me with that. I ran into a friend of my ex-wife's at the supermarket last month. I say friend, but maybe not so much. She asked how I was doing and told me a few things about my ex. My ex was cheating on me for at least 2 or 3 months before Alex's situation exploded. But for those who had bet money on her being a lesbian too, I'm sorry to inform you she's now dating a man, the same one she was cheating on me with. Luckily, finding out now doesn't change anything about the divorce, as she didn't ask for spousal support, and the assets would have been divided equally anyway. The only thing that perhaps bothers me is that she might have planned everything that happened the day I saw her with Chloe at home, looking for some kind of excuse to divorce me. I try not to think about that because it doesn't change anything about my current situation, but it's hard not to feel angry if that was the case. Chloe is also dating someone, according to what my in-laws told me. They don't know much because few in the family keep in contact with her. A curious thing is that someone else in the family came out as gay, a cousin of my ex and Chloe, who was encouraged to tell his story after all this happened and was accepted by the family. I don't know if I'll ever have anything more to tell you, but that's all I can say. I'm doing well. Therapy works, and the people around me are supportive. I haven't talked much about my own parents in this story, but they've been a great help. The same goes for my in-laws and Alex's parents. Sometimes I think Alex lives on through his parents, which I've told them, and they've been touched by it. For example, Alex's dad is like a friend I can talk to about guy stuff, like last night's game or trucks, and his mom has that part of him where she just listens. There are also some improvements, like the meals, since Alex used to cook as well as I did, but I'm glad to be in a better place now, surrounded by warm, good people. Update 4. In the 2 years since I last updated, I debated whether to make a post, as I partly enjoy writing, but I didn't have anything relevant to tell you, and I thought you'd hate me for just writing about how my life was going. That changed recently when I found out some things through my ex's family. I'm still in touch with my in-laws, and also Alex's parents. That hasn't changed. But now I have some answers to questions I could never answer before. For instance, why Alex never discovered that Chloe liked women? I mean, why Alex never noticed that Chloe wasn't attracted to him? They must have had a poor sex life, and he never told me about it. The answer is that Chloe is bisexual, and her family knows it because she had been sleeping with my ex-wife's boyfriend for about 6 months. My ex-wife went back to her parents' house crying, seeking comfort, but only found a closed door. Chloe didn't do it, but I believe she has lost the few friends she had left during this time. She has friends who like men and others who like women, and they now know that she might sleep with any of their partners. If she did that to her cousin who supported her, what's left for anyone else? I don't know much about my ex's fight with Chloe because her parents haven't spoken to her, and I only know about her friends because we share a social circle. That's all for now. There isn't much to write, but at least it got the urge to post an update out of my system. Edit 1. The first Thanksgiving, I tried to make a pie, but it turned out so awful that I didn't even attempt to take it to Alex's parents' place. However, last year I improved, though I must confess it was only because I was dating someone who helped me prepare it. Also, it was a 20-80 effort, 20% mine and 80% my girlfriend's, which I had to confess while everyone was eating because they were praising me for how much I'd improved in the kitchen, but I had to give her the credit. Edit 2. Alex's parents and my in-laws know her, and they approve, especially since she prevents me from bringing gas station pies or cooking something even dogs wouldn't eat.